Imagine standing on the precipice of the most intimidating entertainment stage on the planet. Think about the sheer sensory overload of the America's Got Talent auditorium. You have the blinding, multi-million-dollar lighting rigs beating down on you. You have a massive live audience of thousands of people, all starring with heavy anticipation, ready to either cheer you on or violently reject you. And sitting just a few feet away are four of the most powerful, influential, and often cynical judges in the mainstream entertainment industry. For a seasoned adult professional, this environment is absolutely terrifying. But for a 15-year-old girl, an introverted teenager who has spent her entire life battling severe, crippling social anxiety, this moment feels less like an opportunity and more like stepping directly into a psychological war zone. When Sophie Pecora walked onto that stage, she did not look like the typical, highly manufactured pop star that reality television loves to heavily promote. She looked incredibly fragile. She was tightly clutching an acoustic guitar that seemed almost too large for her frame. Her shoulders were slightly hunched, and her hands were visibly, violently shaking. To the millions of viewers watching at home, the immediate assumption was highly predictable. We are culturally conditioned to expect one of two things in this exact scenario. Either the nervous teenager is going to completely crumble under the immense pressure, providing the network with a highly profitable, embarrassing viral blooper, or they are going to suddenly open their mouth and belt out an incredibly massive, operatic Whitney Houston cover, providing the classic, tear-jerking underdog narrative. But what actually happened in the following minutes completely shattered every single expectation. What happened next fundamentally disrupted the highly calculated, heavily manipulated formula of reality television. And it is the exact reason why, even after all these years, and after thousands of other talented singers have come and gone, watching Sophie Pecora's audition still sends an undeniable physical shiver down our spines. Today, we are going to conduct a deep, comprehensive psychological analysis into this exact television moment. We are going to explore the dark, unspoken realities of the reality television machine, the devastating psychological weight of generational cyberbullying, and the absolute, terrifying power of unfiltered human vulnerability. To truly understand the massive cultural impact of this specific audition, we must first pull back the heavy velvet curtain and critically examine the rigid, highly manipulative formula of the modern talent show. Shows like America's Got Talent are not simply platforms for discovering raw art. They are massive, billion-dollar narrative machines. The television producers and network executives have spent decades meticulously perfecting a very specific psychological formula designed to manipulate the emotions of the viewing audience. They actively search for highly dramatic backstories, traumatic pasts, or massive physical transformations. They heavily script the pre-audition interviews, strategically edit the background music, and aggressively coach the contestants on exactly how to behave to maximize the emotional payoff for the television ratings. The entire environment is inherently sterile, overly produced, and heavily focused on projecting a highly polished, easily digestible illusion of perfection. When Sophie Pecora walked into that sterile, highly controlled environment, she represented a massive, uncontrollable anomaly. She was not playing a heavily rehearsed character. She was not wearing a glittering, network-approved costume. And most importantly, she was not bringing a safe, familiar cover song that the audience could blindly clap along to. She brought an original piece of music, a highly unconventional spoken-word manifesto that she had written in the absolute isolation of her childhood bedroom. She essentially took the most private, vulnerable, and painful pages of her personal diary and decided to read them out loud to a global audience. The producers likely thought they were getting a standard, shy girl with a guitar. What they actually got was a raw, unfiltered mirror held directly up to the darkest, most agonizing realities of the modern teenage experience. By completely refusing to conform to the shiny, manufactured expectations of the reality television machine, She instantly forced a level of brutal, uncompromising authenticity onto a stage that is notoriously famous for its artificiality. The primary reason this audition still gives us literal chills is rooted deeply in the unique, highly unorthodox mechanics of her vocal delivery. When we think of massive, show-stopping moments on talent competitions, we instantly think of sheer vocal power. We think of singers holding impossibly high notes for 20 seconds, demanding a standing ovation through sheer athletic lung capacity. Sophie Pecora completely bypassed this traditional, highly competitive approach. She did not try to overpower the auditorium. Instead, she commanded the massive, chaotic space by forcing it into absolute submission through intimacy. Her performance style, a deeply emotional, rhythmic blend of spoken-word poetry and acoustic singing, completely caught the judges and the audience off guard. Her vocal delivery was incredibly far from technically perfect, and that is precisely where its massive, undeniable power lies. If you listen closely to the isolated audio of that audition, you can physically hear the heavy, terrified tremor in her voice. You can hear her desperately fighting to control her breathing as the massive weight of the moment threatens to completely crush her. You can hear the slight, nervous cracks in her vocal register. In the heavily auto-tuned, meticulously pitch-corrected landscape of the modern music industry, these human imperfections are usually aggressively scrubbed away by corporate producers. But in this performance, those very imperfections were the absolute core of the emotional experience. We were not listening to a highly trained, robotic professional executing a flawless routine. We were listening to a deeply wounded human being bleeding out on stage. She did not scream for our attention. She whispered her pain. And in a massive auditorium designed for loud, explosive entertainment, that quiet, trembling whisper was infinitely more powerful and completely deafening than any high note could have ever been. To fully dissect the psychological impact of this moment, we must aggressively analyze the lyrical content of the song she chose to perform, titled 7th Grade. The lyrics of this song are not hidden behind clever, abstract artistic metaphors or vague poetic imagery. They are violently, devastatingly literal. When she stands in front of millions of people and says, "They call me annoying, they say I want attention," she is not writing a fictional pop narrative. She is directly, verbatim, quoting the toxic digital venom that is routinely spewed in middle school group chats, anonymous comment sections, and highly predatory social media platforms. The specificity of her words is absolutely crushing. She talks about the agonizing, paralyzing fear of simply walking down a school hallway. She talks about the heavy, suffocating feeling of being completely invisible to the people she desperately wants to connect with, while simultaneously feeling aggressively targeted by the people who want to destroy her. For decades, the entertainment industry has attempted to tackle the subject of school bullying, but it is almost always heavily sanitized, romanticized, or completely stripped of its actual psychological horror. Mainstream pop anthems about bullying usually focus on a generic, highly uplifting message of eventual empowerment. But Sophie did not offer a neat, happy resolution in her song. She offered the raw, bleeding, unresolved trauma of someone who is still actively drowning in it. She captured the exact, terrifying essence of what it feels like to be a teenager in the modern digital age. An era where the bullying no longer stops when the school bell rings. Today, the psychological torment follows young people directly into their bedrooms, vibrating in their pockets 24 hours a day through their smartphones. By verbalizing this highly specific, generational trauma on a massive, globally broadcasted platform, she essentially validated the silent, deeply hidden agony of millions of viewers. This brings us to the core scientific and psychological phenomenon of why we physically react to this performance. There is a documented neurological response to powerful music and emotional stimuli known as frisson, commonly referred to as aesthetic chills or psychogenic shivers. Neurologists and psychologists explain that this physical reaction, the goosebumps and the sudden wave of emotion, typically occurs when a piece of music or a performance violently violates our expectations in a positive or profoundly emotional way. When we watch a reality television show, our brains are in a state of passive, highly predictable consumption. We expect the standard judges' jokes, the generic pop songs, and the commercial breaks. But when Sophie Pecora began her spoken word confession, our brains experienced a massive, unexpected disruption. The sheer, unadulterated vulnerability of her performance bypassed our logical, cynical filters and directly struck the emotional centers of our brains. We were suddenly, forcefully connected to her pain through a psychological concept known as radical empathy. We did not just feel bad for her, we physically felt her anxiety. We felt her desperate need to be heard. Furthermore, her performance acts as a massive psychological mirror. Even if you are an adult, decades removed from the awkward horrors of middle school, her raw delivery instantly teleports you back to the exact moments in your own life when you felt completely ostracized, intensely misunderstood, or deeply alone. She tapped into a universal, highly suppressed human wound. The chills we feel are our bodies physically reacting to the sudden, overwhelming realization that we are not alone in our deepest insecurities. The massive cultural resonance of this audition is also deeply tied to the absolute bravery required to execute it. Society constantly bombards us with the toxic, highly destructive message that we must aggressively hide our flaws, heavily curate our digital personas, and project a completely bulletproof exterior at all times. We are taught that vulnerability is a massive weakness that will be aggressively exploited by others. To see a 15-year-old girl standing on one of the most judgmental stages on the planet completely reject that societal conditioning is nothing short of revolutionary. She took the exact things she was mercilessly bullied for, her quietness, her sensitivity, her awkwardness, and she weaponized them into an undeniable superpower. She proved in real time that the most powerful thing a human being can do is to aggressively own their narrative, even when that narrative is incredibly painful. The music industry, and reality television specifically, is constantly searching for the next big gimmick, the next viral trend, or the next easily marketable pop star. They spend millions of dollars trying to manufacture exactly what Sophie Pecora brought to that stage entirely by accident. Absolute, uncompromising truth. She did not need a massive corporate marketing team, heavily choreographed backup dancers, or a multi-million-dollar production budget to captivate the world. She only needed a cheap acoustic guitar, a terrifying level of honesty, and the bravery to stand completely exposed in front of the world. As the years pass and the landscape of the entertainment industry continues to evolve into an increasingly artificial, heavily AI-generated and overly curated space, the value of pure, unscripted human emotion becomes infinitely more precious. The reason Sophie Pecora's audition still deeply resonates, the reason it continues to accumulate millions of views, and the reason it still gives us undeniable chills today, is because it serves as a powerful, haunting reminder of our shared humanity. It is a stunning visual and auditory time capsule of a moment when the heavy, artificial walls of the corporate entertainment machine temporarily completely collapsed, allowing a single, fragile, and fiercely brave human soul to shine through the cracks. It teaches us that true artistry is not about achieving technical perfection, but about the brutal, uncompromising willingness to tell the truth. It reminds us that our deepest, darkest insecurities, the very things we spend our entire lives desperately trying to hide, are often the exact keys to connecting with the rest of humanity. We get chills because, in a world absolutely obsessed with wearing masks, we are witnessing the terrifying, breathtaking beauty of someone finally taking theirs off.